3:15 in the morning. A man named Ellis Vane is sitting in the back office of a place called the Cascabel Club in downtown Reno, wearing a tuxedo shirt with the collar unbuttoned, no jacket, no tie, and a face the color of wet concrete. There's a leather folder open in front of him. Inside the folder, 6 IOUs, and a 7th being written by a man in a maroon sport coat who has not blinked in about 4 minutes. By sunrise, the number at the bottom of that folder will read $8,140,000. Let me take you back. Ellis Vane was not a gambler. That's the first thing you need to understand. Ellis Vane sold industrial refrigeration units to grocery chains from a small office in Sacramento, and up until the spring of 1996, the biggest wager he had ever made was a $20 football square at his brother-in-law's Super Bowl party. He wore Rockport shoes, he drove a beige sedan, he tipped 15% exact every single time, using a calculator on his wristwatch. Then his wife left him. Then his mother died. And because grief does weird things to sensible men, Ellis drove 3.5 hours east to Reno on a Thursday afternoon in June because he had never in his life done a single reckless thing, and it felt like maybe it was time. He walked into the Cascabel Club because he liked the sign. That's it. That's the whole reason. A rattling neon snake in the window and a doorman who called him sir. Inside, the place smelled like cigarette smoke and orange peel, and within about 90 minutes, a woman at the baccarat pit had convinced Ellis Vane to sit down at a table with a $500 minimum. He won. Here's the thing about beginner's luck. It's real, statistically. It just doesn't mean what people think it means. It means the house is happy to see you win the first night because you'll come back the second night and the third, and by the fourth, you're not a beginner anymore. You're a mark. You just don't know it yet. Ellis Vane walked out of the Cascabel Club that Thursday night up $17,000. He drove back to Sacramento with a paper bag of $100 bills on the passenger seat, and he cried the whole way because his mother would have been horrified, and because he had never in his life felt so alive. 2 weeks later, he was back. And here's where it gets interesting. The Cascabel Club had a very particular way of handling a certain type of customer. Not whales. Ellis wasn't a whale, not yet, but middle-class men in emotional freefall who could be sculpted into whales if you were patient. They comped him a suite. They comped him dinner. A pit boss named Reno Cortez started calling him Mr. Vane and remembering his drink, which was Bushmills, neat, 1 ice cube, and the first time Reno remembered that ice cube without being asked, Ellis felt like he'd been knighted. By September, Ellis Vane had lost the $17,000 back, plus another $62,000 of his own money. By November, he'd cashed out an annuity his mother left him and lost most of that too. By January of '97, he was into the Cascabel for a marker of $200,000, which the house extended cheerfully because Ellis's credit was clean and his signature was neat, and he still wore that beige suit like a man who paid his bills. He couldn't pay. Now, most casinos, when a marker goes bad, they hand it to a lawyer. They send letters. They file civil suits. It's tedious and legal and boring. But there was a man who spent a lot of time in the Cascabel's steakhouse, a man in a maroon sport coat, whose name was Sal Buccino, and Sal Buccino did not work for the casino. Sal Buccino worked for a company that officially made vending machines and unofficially provided liquid capital to men who had run out of the legal kind. Reno Cortez introduced them, very casually, over a plate of oysters. Sal loaned Ellis Vane $250,000 at what he described as friendly rates. Ellis paid the Cascabel, cleaned the marker, walked back onto the floor a free man. And within 3 weeks, he had lost the entire loan trying to win it back at the baccarat shoe, plus another $180,000 on top of it. Sal was patient. Sal was understanding. Sal loaned him more. Because Sal understood something Ellis did not, which is that the rate wasn't the point. The debt was the point. The debt was the whole game. By the summer of '97, Ellis Vane owed Sal Buccino and 2 of Sal's associates, a woman in Vegas named Dee Kalinsky and a man in Oakland known only as the Barber, a combined total of $1.4 million. He was making the vig, barely, by draining his retirement account and taking cash advances on 11 different credit cards. His refrigeration business was folding. His brother-in-law had stopped taking his calls. And this is the point where a sensible man would have declared bankruptcy, changed his name, and moved to Boise. Ellis Vane went back to the table. Look, I've told a lot of these stories, and I've watched a lot of people ask me in the comments where somebody like you or me is supposed to play if we ever get the itch to sit down at a real table. I'm not your dad. But my rule is boring, And it works. I only play places I've personally vetted, because I've watched too many payouts get slow-walked and too many accounts get reviewed into the void. The short list of where I actually play is sitting in the description. That's it. Back to Ellis. Because here's what happened on the night of August 23, 1997. Ellis Vane sat down at the Cascabel with a bankroll of $48,000, the last liquid money he had in the world, and by 2 in the morning, he was up $2.1 million. $2.1 million in one session. He was pressing bets on the banker line, riding a shoe that was hitting like a metronome, and Reno Cortez was standing behind him with a face like a man watching his own house burn down. Because if Ellis colored up and walked out that door with $2.1 million, the Cascabel could eat the loss, sure, but Sal Buccino and D. Kalinsky and the Barber, they'd all get paid, and Ellis Vane would be free. They could not let that happen. So at 2:07 in the morning, Reno Cortez put a hand on Ellis's shoulder, leaned down, and whispered that Sal was in the back office and would love to buy him a drink to celebrate. Ellis, who had never in his life said no to Sal Buccino, stood up, left his chips in the rack, and followed Reno down a hallway lined with photographs of dead comedians. In the back office, Sal was waiting. So was D. So was the Barber, who was in fact an actual barber, and who had brought a straight razor with him from Oakland for reasons he did not immediately explain. They did not hurt him, not that night. What they did was worse. They opened the leather folder, and they laid out the paper. Every marker, every note, every scribbled IOU on cocktail napkins going back 14 months, and they told Ellis Vane that the compounding had kicked in, and that his balance, as of this exact moment, 3:15 in the morning, was $6,200,000. Ellis said that couldn't be right. Ellis said he had $2.1 million on the table right now. Ellis said they could take it, all of it, and call it even. Sal smiled. Sal said the chips on the table belonged to the Cascabel Club until they were colored up and signed for. And unfortunately, the pit had just informed him that Mr. Vane had exceeded his credit line during the session, which meant those chips were being applied directly against the house marker, which meant Mr. Vane's winnings were, technically, 0. And then Sal wrote a 7th IOU for $1.9 million, which he described as an administrative fee. By sunrise, Ellis Vane owed $8,140,000 to men who did not accept payment plans. Here's what most people don't know about this kind of debt. It isn't designed to be paid back, it's designed to own you. And for the next 4 years, Sal Buccino owned Ellis Vane the way a man owns a work truck. Ellis signed over his house, his car, his life insurance policy. He worked, sober and terrified, at a wholesale meat distributor in Stockton, and every single Friday, he drove 3.5 hours to Reno to hand an envelope to Reno Cortez in the parking lot behind the Cascabel Club. The story ends in 2001, not with a police raid, not with a hero prosecutor. It ends because Sal Buccino had a heart attack in a steakhouse in Reno, face down in a bowl of French onion soup, and because D. Kalinsky got indicted on unrelated charges in Nevada, and because the Barber, sensing weather, went back to Oakland and cut hair for the rest of his life, and never called Ellis Vane again. The paper just evaporated. Nobody came looking. The debt died with the men who held it. Ellis Vane still works at that meat distributor. He is 68 years old. He drives a different beige sedan. He has never, since that night in August of '97, walked into a casino or placed a single wager of any kind. And when his grandkids ask him why he won't buy a lottery ticket, he tells them the truth, which is that he already used up every piece of luck he was ever going to get in one night, and he doesn't feel like testing the math a second time. So here's the question I want you to sit with. Ellis Vane won. That's the part nobody remembers. For about 20 minutes at a baccarat table in Reno, he had $2.1 million in chips in front of him, and everything he had lost was recoverable, and everything he owed was payable, and his life was salvageable. And he stood up and walked away from that table because a man he trusted asked him to. Was Ellis Vane a victim of the house, or a victim of himself? Tell me in the comments. I already know which side I'm on. I want to hear yours.